Are you serious, folks? You know something? We have to go back to the year 2002. Samantha Power was on television being interviewed about what she would do if she was ever an advisor to the President of the United States on how to handle the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. And her playbook that she revealed, her playbook that she revealed 11 years ago is being absolutely manifested through John F. Kerry right now in this peace process that's being negotiated. And literally, they are handcuffing Israel. They are leveraging Israel every step of the way. Well, guess what? Samantha Power is now an advisor to the President of the United States. She is the United Nations ambassador for America. And her plan that she revealed is in process right now. She called for U.S. military intervention to help hold back the Israeli forces against the Palestinians. She says that it's Israel that's creating a genocide. And it is her words that we should stop investing billions of dollars in Israeli military buildup and instead invest that money in Palestinian investments and put billions of dollars to put together a mammoth protection military force to keep Israel and Palestine separated. Wow. Listen to her words, and then let me read to you the framework that John F. Kerry has worked on and is expecting to maybe sign what's called a framework of the peace covenant by New Year's Eve. Are you serious? Not signing the official covenant with many, but the framework agreement, which says, okay, here's the framework. Now we're going to go off and work on the details. But remember, folks, the devil is always in the details. I want you to listen right now. This is Samantha Power being interviewed on television on what she would do if she was an advisor to the president. And folks, she is now, and they're doing exactly what she said should be done. Listen to this.
Let me give you a thought experiment here without asking you to address the Palestine-Israel problem. Let's say you were an advisor to the President of the United States. How would, in response to current events, would you advise him to put a structure in place to monitor that situation, least one party or another be looking like they might be moving toward genocide?
Well, I don't think that in any of the cases a shortage of information is the problem. And I actually think in the Palestine-Israeli situation, there's an abundance of information. And what we don't need is some kind of early warning mechanism there. What we need is a willingness to actually put something on the line in service of helping the situation. And putting something on the line might mean alienating a domestic constituency of tremendous political and financial import. It may more crucially mean sacrificing or investing, I think more than sacrificing, literally billions of dollars not in servicing Israelis, military, but actually investing in the new state of Palestine.
You heard what she said, sacrificing. And then she said, well, maybe that's not the right word. Investing. The money that the billions of dollars that the United States gives to Israel to help build up Israel's protection because of the fact that they're simply surrounded by Arabic nations all around them, many of which have had visions of annihilation and overtaking the city of Jerusalem and the land of Israel, which is prophesied in the book of Psalms, in Psalms 83, and in Zechariah chapter 14. We know this is the intentions of radical Islamists, and we know that Israel must be supported to maintain, continuing to manage the nation of Israel. But Samantha Power says we should sacrifice Israel and give it to Palestine. She says, well, maybe that's the wrong word. We should invest the money into Palestine. Let's move on. She's got more to say.
In investing billions of dollars, it would probably take also to support, I think, what will have to be a mammoth protection force.
Now she wants to do more than just invest billions of dollars in Palestine's infrastructure of building a nation, but she wants to also invest billions of dollars in a mammoth protection force. But do you understand who she says to protect who from who? To protect the Palestinians from the Israelis. But folks, can I ask you a question? Who fires the missiles at who? Who shoots them across the border out of Gaza and out of Lebanon? And internally, bus bombings and terrorist acts. Folks, are you serious? Can I just tell you that in the month of October alone, we had 167, excuse me, I'm going to get it right, 137 terrorist attacks, individual attacks on civilians, Jewish people, in the month of October by Palestinians. We had 167 attacks individually on residents of Israel in the month of November, not counting rockets. But she wants to spend billions of U.S. tax dollars. She wants to sacrifice Israel. She wants to create a two states, but she wants us to put all the money in Palestine and billions in the defense or the buffer zone, or the, shouldn't even use the word buffer zone, military buildup, a mammoth buildup. But she's not done.
Not of the old, Srebrenica kind or the Rwanda kind, but a meaningful military presence, because it seems to me at this stage, and this is true of actual genocides as well, and not just, major human.
She's comparing the genocides of Rwanda to Israel. She's calling Israel, she's saying Israel is committing genocides against the people of Palestine, comparing it to the murdering, the massacring, the madness of Rwanda. I mean, Samantha Power, are you really serious? Are you serious? But wait, she's not done.
Rights abuses, which we're seeing there, but is that you have to go in as if you're serious. You have to put something on the line, and unfortunately, imposition of a solution on unwilling parties is dreadful. I mean, it's a terrible thing to do. It's fundamentally undemocratic. But sadly, we don't just have a democracy here either. We have a liberal democracy.
Whoa. Sadly, we don't have a democracy here in America either, she said. We have a liberal democracy. No, we don't. No, that's what you want to have. That's what the Obama administration has been pushing. That's what a lot of guys up on Capitol Hill have been begging for. And certainly, Samantha Power, that's what you've been salivating of. It's what you've wanted. You're from the elitist group out of the Northeast liberals who believe that what we should do is destroy the very moral fiber of America. I'm sorry, Samantha Power, but you're dead wrong. But wait, she wasn't done yet.
Certain sets of principles that guide, our policy, or that are meant to anyway, and there it's essential that some set of principles becomes the benchmark, rather than a deference to people who are fundamentally politically destined to destroy the lives of their own people. And by that I mean what Tom Friedman has called sharafat. I do think in that sense there's that both political leaders have been dreadfully irresponsible, and unfortunately it does require external intervention, which very much like the Rwanda.
External intervention. She calls it sharafat. She's referring to Ariel Sharon and Yasser Arafat, that they both had failed, so she calls it sharafat. The truth is, Israel is a nation that was established after World War II, and was given a place for the Jews who had survived the Holocaust and any Jews around the world that have been discriminated against to come back to the promised land, the biblically coveted land by God to Abraham in Genesis 12, 1, 2, and 3. God even said that Israel was the apple of his eye in Zechariah 2. And he said that he would seek to destroy all nations that come against Israel in Zechariah 12, 9. He also said that he would make Jerusalem a cup of trembling, a burdensome stone for all people who burden themselves with it. And anyone that does will be broken into pieces in Zechariah 12, 1, 2, and 3. He did say, though, that Israel would be attacked and there'd be a war, and that it would even be in the streets of Jerusalem and would divide the city temporarily, and the houses ravished and the women ravished and the houses rifled in Zechariah 14. But he did also say that the Son of God would return and would split the Mount of Olives in half, and the seas would flow, the rivers, from one sea, from the former sea to the hinder sea, and that there would be tremendous victory for Israel. Well, I'm here to tell you right now, that is the plan of Samantha Power. And here's what John Kerry is saying. American troops would be willing to guard the border between Palestinian state and Jordan. U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry reportedly proposed to the Palestinian officials amid the discussions of a security plan for peace agreement between Israel and Palestine. Israel's insisting, though, on retaining a military presence on the Jordan border, giving the narrow country some strategic depth and early warnings on its eastern frontier, and has rejected a previous American proposal to place international forces there. Also, we know this. There's a report. I want to thank Penny of Virginia for that report. I also want to thank Penny of Virginia for this report. The framework for peace deal, folks, could be reached by the end of the month of December. By New Year's Eve, there might be a signed framework that both sides would be willing to say, okay, this is the framework. Now let's work out the details. Like, how long would Israel be allowed to be in the buffer zone? Who would be the military nations in the buffer zone between the two states of Israel and Palestine? Which forces would be along the Jordan Valley, in the Jordan Valley? I remember being there in May. I never thought when I stood there in May, as I stood in Bethlehem and looked across the Jordan Valley toward the nation of Jordan, I could see the hills of Jordan. I never dreamed that this agreement would be this close in the same year I was there. But folks, I'm going back to Jerusalem. I'm going back to Israel and Jerusalem in 2014. By the time I go, there might be a two-state solution. I don't know if I get there in time. And we're getting ready to enter into the 4 blood moons. Oh my. Something biblical is going on with the signs of the second coming of Christ. But John Kerry says that the Israeli-Palestinian peace negotiations is on the verge of a breakthrough, and the American drafted framework agreement could be signed by the end of December, according to a London-based Arabic newspaper. The report cites the Arabic lead officials who said the Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas presented them with the details of the U.S. plan at an emergency meeting of the Arab League foreign ministers that was held in Cairo. They would be using military buffer zones, international forces, both of large U.S. contingency, and some other nations to be named. That would be in the buffer zone between Israel and Palestine. A large, mammoth military presence. And you got to know what else they'll do. They're not telling you now, but they will start pouring billions of U.S. dollars into Palestine and sacrificing the security of Israel. Exactly what Samantha Power said needs to be done. And she said, this is what I would advise the President of the United States if I was in position. She's in position, and her plan is being played out right before our very eyes. Something biblical is going on with the signs of the second coming of Christ. Are you serious?